What's up, everybody? Fortexfiend here. Welcome back again to my channel, and we're going to be doing my banner review for the recently released banner featuring Monster Black Dragon and LIU BEI Unicorn Gundam for the Lacroan event in SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. Before I go ahead and get started with that, I just want to let you guys know that I am super grateful for last night's stream that I did for this event, because it was my first time doing multi-stream, streaming on both Twitch and YouTube, because I know not everybody watches on both platforms. So thank you so much to everybody who joined me. We had a blast with the event. And speaking of this event, this is probably currently my favorite event that they've released thus far. The way they handled it is absolutely amazing, and I'm going to have a separate video on that, reviewing the event and also giving you guys kind of like a short guide for those of you that are still trying to get through it. But I absolutely love this event. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, notification bell, like, dislike, comment, check the links in the video description and the pinned comments. It all helps me out. Thank you guys again for all your support. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the topic of the video, the banner review for this new banner. So, we're going to go ahead and start off with the SSR unit that you could actually get from this banner, which is the Knight Sazabi. So this is a defender unit. I actually pulled this unit, if you guys saw my pulls. I actually really think this unit is pretty solid for being an SSR. As you can see right here, it has increased defense, increased max HP, and also has a beam damage reduction mitigation in terms of its passive. So as long as it doesn't have that weapon damage nullification, it'll reduce the amount of beam damage that it takes. It also does have that brand new linked mechanic, which is part of the whole SD universe, because essentially these are sentient beings, and it also does have shield defense. In terms of its tags, I actually like the tags because you got Specialized Unit, SD Gundam, and Lightning Fast. If you manage to get the warship that's also featured on this banner, it does cover both of those tags, so it gives it a lot of flexibility. And if you have the Lightning Fast ship, it's actually a really solid ship for that as well, because that particular tag has a lot of fantastic units on it as well. In terms of its actual skills, let's go ahead and go back here. Right here, so we have 3 skills here. What I like about it is it has a skill that has up to a 5 range. That's always good, especially for positioning. And then if you take a look at it here, it does have an inflict attack down 30% at max level. Not 35, but 30% for an SSR, I think is pretty good. So if you're looking for another defender, this is a good solid option, especially for this event. It also has a 3-range attack that decreases beam weapon power by 20%, which is a pretty cool debuff. And then afterwards, it has a standard knight sword. Nothing special here, but I mean, it's a knight, so we needed to have some sort of a, in close melee range attack right there. But all in all, this is a very solid unit if you manage to pull it. In terms of its pilot or its linked pilot, we're going to look at it with maximum upgrade right here. In terms of its passives, we got durability type, support defense 1, increasing its own defense when it's supporting. Very standard, but always nice to have on a durability unit. Increased defense, great. And then afterwards, its tag condition is SD Gundam. When this being is piloting or linked to an SD Gundam, which it's always going to be, it's going to get an additional support defense. So we have another double defender. Yes, it is restricted, unfortunately, to one particular mobile suit because of the way that they're designed, but you have yourself another double defender. So if you're looking for a double defender, you're lacking, or let's say you only have like Mika or Jonah, you skipped Banshee Norn, or you're not pulling on that, this is a solid option, and it's an SSR, which is a lot easier to get, especially in a featured banner like this compared to the UR. So it's a solid unit. I love the design. I love the design of all of these units from this particular event. Okay, so the warship. We've talked about it already before, but I'm not going to take too long on this. I like how this covers 2 particular tags. I also like how this is not limited, so you could get it later down the line. 2 tags is very useful, especially now that we know that the upcoming Master League is going to have rival and specialized unit. So you guys can prepare ahead of time, and if you manage to pull this, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of party building that you could build for this particular warship. If you don't pull it, no worries. There's other options for you. Energy restoration is the less desirable ability or skill that warships have, but it is still useful for like content that takes a bit longer to clear, especially like, for example, Expert Eternal Road or the recent Generation Tower, which is still currently live. So if you're having energy restoration problems with your party, this is something worth considering if you manage to pull it. Okay, let's start off with the LIU BEI Unicorn Gundam, which unfortunately I did not pull this unit. I actually did get Monster Black Dragon. Don't ask me how much it took me to get, but I did get it in my party. So LIU BEI Unicorn Gundam is an attacker type unit, and because it is SD Gundam and they do have that linked, I want to say, I don't want to call it a handicap, but it kind of is, because that means only one pilot can pilot this. They had to give them something extra to make these units stand out. So in terms of its passives, we see increased attack, HP conditions with another increased attack if HP is 50% or below. And then afterwards, it has an increased attack and defense by 15% if it's combating against rival tagged units. And there's a lot of those. And especially with the upcoming Master League, this is going to be kind of like, I guess, a counter meta unit, if you want to call it that. So they gave it that, which makes it a little bit special. Again, being an SD Gundam unit with only one pilot, which I think that's really cool. And I think that's them trying to sell this unit for you to try to pull it for Master League. So I think that's awesome that it gets that, because if you take a look at that, that's a 45% total attack increase, which is pretty, it's a huge amount if you take into consideration all of these different increases to its attack. And if you take a look at it right there, I mean, it's at 13,417, which is nothing to laugh at when it comes to an attacker type unit. In terms of its actual skills, its most powerful one is pretty impressive, because it has a base 7,680 power at level 5, and then it increases up to 17% the lower your HP amount. So that's a lot. And also it has absolute hit and weapon attribute damage reduction null. So you can't mitigate this. There's no way around it. And pretty much if this thing hits something, assuming that you also have it fully limit broken and all that, it's gonna hurt. And I want to say that even at a 0 LB, that's gonna hurt. So very, very powerful skill right there. The only thing holding it back is it is at a range of 3. So this is more like an in-your-face type of a unit compared to some of our more powerful ranged UR units that we've seen for attackers. It also does have a 2 range skill, where the closer you are, the more weapon power. It has a pretty respectable power at 5,520, increasing up to 12% the closer you are. So again, very, very in your face. I would say that the only real weakness of this particular unit is you need to get in close. So for Master League, just be mindful that if you're going to try to take this unit, and assuming the AI doesn't screw you up, it does need to get within that range. So a lot of like range DPS can definitely take advantage of its weakness, so just be mindful of that. What I do like about it in terms of its tags is it has one-shot killer. So those of us that are still running around with Eternal Lacus, this is definitely a unit you could consider using in that particular party. It is part of Specialized unit as well. It is part of Protagonist, so you could kind of strategize your way if you pull this unit and using it in some of the other Eternal Road content that you haven't cleared just yet. But all in all, I think it's a unique unit, and it's a very, very cool one to have with something special, because it is part of that linked type of a mechanic that they introduced. In terms of its pilot, we're going to take a look at its pilot now. Its melee attack, as you can see right there, is quite high. That rivals Master Asia's. So very, very strong melee attack. Abilities are increased damage dealt, increased melee, and then when piloting SD Gundam, increasing damage dealt and reducing damage taken. And then anytime this unit's HP falls below 25%, you get that extra lifeline. Very similar to Shin with Force Impulse, except Shin's is, I think, a little bit better, because that one's at 50%. This one wants you to get a little bit riskier, which it comes into play with the type of unit that it is. It has like that Dark Knight-esque type of a play style with lower HP, more damage. But at least they gave it that, as like an additional lifeline. And then afterwards, it does have Force Guard, so that will help in case your HP is super low. You could pop that and ensure that you're going to be receiving reduced damage. It has Attack Burst and it has Sway. So I want to say that all 3 of these skills are quite good for this unit, despite it not being a limited time UR. These are all really, really good skills. Very, very good to have for an offensive type unit such as this one. So all in all, I'd say for a limited time or for a non-limited time attacker unit, this is a pretty good one to add to your roster if you do decide to pull on this banner. Okay, the star of the show is going to be Monster Black Dragon. So this is going to be our limited UR unit. It is a support type unit. If you take a look at its stats there, at fully max limit break, its HP, its defense, and mobility are actually pretty impressive in my opinion for a supporter type unit. In terms of its abilities, it has increased max energy. It does have a vigor condition where vigor is max or higher. You get that attack and defense increase. And then it also does have an HP and energy regen, which helps with its high cost energy skill. So increased max energy helps with that. And then it does have regen. So it has a little bit of self-sustaining, which is very helpful for this unit. In terms of its actual weapon skills, we're going to go to Fear itself. I love how it's at a 5 range, so positioning for either support or direct attacking is going to be pretty easy for this unit. It has absolute hit, weapon damage null. It also has a unique debuff where it decreases MP by 1 and inflicts defense down on enemy by 1 turn. So that is pretty useful, especially when you're decreasing SP. So that, or MP, excuse me. So then that way, that's kind of like a difference between like, am I going to get one-shotted by this particular enemy unit or am I not? Because you're reducing that MP. So very, very cool. I think it's very unique that they gave it something like that. And then afterwards, it does have Mega Bazoo, which is a 4 range. It has a 5,280 power, which is not bad. It inflicts damage taken from physical weapons up 25% on the enemy for 1 turn. So if you're running like a physical-based team for this unit, this is something worth considering in terms of which attackers you're going to be using. And then afterwards, it has Solar Ray, which is a pretty standard 5 range. I like how it's a 5 range, but it has a pretty respectable power at 4,680. For its mechanisms, it has linked and it has shield defense, which is always nice. And then in terms of its tags, it's part of Tough as Nails, Rival, and Specialized Unit, and also SD Gundam. So we have ships that can definitely support this. I'm actually glad that I pulled the Lucretia Noin ship, even though at the time it wasn't nearly as desirable, because that powers up your specialized units. And for this particular event, a lot of them are specialized units. So I'm actually glad that I was able to get that ship. But this unit also has some pretty good ones. It doesn't have the coveted one-shot killer, but it does have Tough as Nails and Rival as well. And if you manage to pull the warship that is on this banner, it also helps this unit out. So all in all, I think this banner is actually a pretty solid one. The only thing, again, jarring is that it is back-to-back with another limited time unit banner that is currently out right now. But if you do manage to pull these units, they are unique. They are a lot of fun. They will help you out, especially for the event. However, if you are a free-to-play or light spender, I will tell you right now that you get 4 free SSR units alone from the event. And also the SR units that you could get from this event are actually pretty good as well for being SR units. So if you're lacking the resources and you're unsure, I would say skip on this banner despite how fun and cool these units are, because the ones that are actually in the event are more than enough to help you out. And if you've already been playing since day 1, or even for a month from, you know, a month since this game came out or whatever, I would say that you probably already have a solid lineup of units mixed from like development and gacha that you might have already pulled to prepare you for the upcoming Master League, because we know that the tags for that are going to be Rival and Specialized units. So all in all, good banner. I think it's skippable because of how much they give you with the event. But if you're a spender or you love these units, you love SD Gundam, then you're gonna pull. But if you're free to play or a light spender, I would say skip because of how much the event gives you. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are below for the banner in the comment section. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this particular banner and these particular units. Let me know what you think of the event thus far, because like I said earlier in this video, it's probably currently my favorite event that they've released, because I love how they handled it. I love how unique that they made this event, and I will have a separate video for you guys soon on that particular topic. Thank you guys again for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and stay blessed, everybody.